The Call. Collateral Paranormal Event. Rutgers University, New Brunswick, New Jersey. 40.48 north, 74.46 west. Latitude, longitude. Monday, January 22nd, 2001. 4:37 a.m. EST. When the call came, Brady Commons was lit in a dark, pastel tone. The quad was empty, lit here and there by arc lamps and an amber sky that was gaining a clear, still light, the type that would cook off the fog before dawn ever came. It was not morning, at least not yet. There were hours left until the students would rise and go about their business. Now was the time of empty hallways, of flickering fluorescent lamps and the soothing hum and click of unattended soda machines, of the pulsing rhythms of the boiler in the bowels of the building, chugging away like a buried beast. It was a time rich with the energy that moves in the air when no one is around, the sensation of events perched on the edge of occurring, the feeling of tension gathering silently in the air like a storm. When the phone rang at 4:37 in the morning in room 3A, it rang only once. Usually, a phone at this time of the morning would ring on and on while someone stumbled through the dark to find out who had died. It was always bad news at a time like this. In a way, this call was no different. The news was bad, though the caller and man who answered would not realize how bad until much, much later. The person next to this particular phone had been sleeping on the floor in front of the television set, with a single meaty arm on the shelf next to the receiver, and his head propped up on the edge of the couch, since 2:34. His jerky rise to consciousness, all elbows and knees, knocked the receiver off the hook before it could ring again. Lost in a sea of fast food cartons and half-eaten Doritos bags, the man looked like a casualty in the war on obesity. His Rutgers t-shirt, stained with various sauces and beverages, had not seen detergent in more than a year. He rose to a soupy semi-consciousness and jiggled as he coughed and rubbed his pimpled face. The receiver chattered away on the table. A disembodied, chipmunk-like voice poured from the earpiece. The man tried to press down his hair, stuck up in loose brown cowlicks held together by spit, sleep, and drying food, but it immediately returned to its former state of chaos. The fat man fumbled for the receiver on the table, which slipped away from his grasp like a fish and dropped to the nappy burgundy rug at his hip. Then, somehow, he managed to scoop the ugly handset up in both hands. He didn't open his eyes. The room was dark, except for the television flashing in endless snow-like static. He connected the right end of the phone to his right ear, the chipmunk voice still babbling away on the other end. Garrity here, the fat man said finally. The voice on the line, which had been talking the whole time, paused for a second to emit a stuttering sound of disgust, then continued in a higher, more urgent tone. Shut up, Garrity, shut up. Bob Lumsden broke Violet 5. He's gone. I don't know what happened. He's gone. Did I say that? It worked. The program worked. I'll be fucked if it didn't work. It worked. He's gone. It worked. What do we do, Garrity? What the fuck? Garrity? Are you there? Garrity here, the fat man replied, nonplussed. Nothing had registered. It was all gibberish. The only thing he recognized was his name. What the fuck did we do? I come down, see what happened, he said. What? I come down to the lab, Garrity shouted, his voice tired and hoarse. But did you hear me? He's fucking gone. Lumsden's gone. Where'd he go? Garrity yawned. He disappeared in front of me and Leo, in the machine. Leo's curled in the corner like some sort of, I don't know, shit. Garrity stood up in the dark, pulling the phone's base off the table. It hit the ground and made an angry ringing noise that slowly echoed into silence. Was it on? Was the glass active? Weren't you fucking listening? He broke Violet 5. Keep it down, Mitchell. No one's ever broken Violet 5, Garrity whispered. My program worked. We sidestepped the error. It worked. Worked. Garrity echoed, his voice empty of all emotion. Something dark and empty settled in Garrity's stomach. It took more than a minute to realize that for all his breakthroughs and inventions and knowledge, an unreasoning fear held him frozen, waiting for more information. 3 miles away on the other end of the line, Mitchell breathed into the phone but remained silent. Beneath the breathing, Garrity heard a static-filled chorus of voices, mistransmissions that bled through the line. Garrity hung up the phone and stared at the static-covered television. After a moment, he clicked it off with the remote. "Violet 5, he said to no one at all, and then began to dress in the dark, retrieving his shoes and pants from a pile of clothing under the table that held the television. He didn't know what to feel, but no one thing seemed obvious. Either he had lost his mind or Mitchell had, or maybe, his analytical mind chimed in, they had lost their minds simultaneously. Other options were there, of course, other possibilities, but they were difficult to think about. People did not disappear. Lil, ever stable, did not break down. There were general rules to the universe. Doritos made you fat. The television played static after 4 if you didn't have cable. There were stars in the sky. But he had read so much to the contrary. So much that he had put into the construction of the looking glass. The world doesn't really make sense, does it? He thought. It never has, and you've always known it. Everyone knows it. Some choose to ignore that feeling. Some... With effort, he pushed the thoughts away. He had been entertaining them, the same thoughts that led to his career in construction of the looking glass, since before he could remember. They had always been there. Please let me believe that Lumsden's just playing a joke, he silently pleaded, as he pulled out the parking lot in his clunky Daihatsu. But he didn't believe. They weren't friends, and he knew it. They were geniuses who tolerated each other so they would have someone to prove wrong, and to get done what needed to get done. What Mitchell said had happened. He knew it. But what if it was all a mistake? Something wouldn't let him find comfort in that simple thought. Please, God, let me believe in something, he said aloud in the car. His voice sounded so hollow, so tinny in the stuttering of the sewing machine engine, that he found no solace in the muttered prayer, the first and last sincere prayer he would ever utter in his